Alright, we finally reached number one, but before I tell you what number one is, let's do a quick recap for those who haven't been watching this top 10 list. Number 10, Super Bowl 25, the Buffalo Bills versus the New York Giants. Number 9, Super Bowl 4, the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Minnesota Vikings. Number 8, Super Bowl 29, the San Francisco 49ers versus the San Diego Chargers. Number 7, Super Bowl 3, the New York Jets versus the Baltimore Colts. Number 6, Super Bowl 34, the St. Louis Rams versus the Tennessee Titans. Number 5, Super Bowl 41, the Indianapolis Colts versus the Chicago Bears. Number 4, Super Bowl 32, the Denver Broncos versus the Green Bay Packers. Number 3, Super Bowl 42, the New York Giants versus the New England Patriots. Number 2, Super Bowl 44, the New Orleans Saints versus the Indianapolis Colts. And finally, the number one greatest Super Bowl of all time, Super Bowl 23, the Cincinnati Bengals versus the San Francisco 49ers. This Super Bowl defined exactly what a Super Bowl is all about. Having all of your best players giving the performance of their lives. The Bengals, this being their second Super Bowl, hoping to win it all. They had almost all of their best players. Obviously, there were some misfortunes on the Bengals' parts, and the 49ers, who obviously had their full game, all their key players. And for the first half, it was a defensive struggle between these two teams. Literally, figuratively, medically, that's right, medically. Because two of the players went down early in the first quarter. I mean, one of which on the 49ers side suffered an ankle injury, I think it was an offensive lineman. Yeah, it was an offensive lineman. Had to leave the game early because of an ankle injury. And for the Cincinnati Bengals, on their second defensive drive, their starting nose tackle suffered what had to be the most gruesome injury in football history. It was a broken fibula and tibia, I believe. It was the lower part of the leg. It just completely snapped in half. It was very similar to the Joe Theismann injury. This injury caused the game to be delayed for about 10 to 15 minutes. They had to get an air cast in and wheel this person out on a cart. I forget who his name is, but nevertheless, it was very hard for both teams, losing two of their key linemen early on in the game, and there wasn't a lot of scoring going on in the first half. There was only like 3 points, and I think those 3 points were scored on the 49ers. But in the second half, that's where Boomer Esiason, the quarterback for the Cincinnati Bengals, and Joe Montana, the quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers, really started to bring their A game. That's where they started to get things going. And when all was said and done, the San Francisco 49ers had little time left. I think they had like 3.5 minutes to go in their final offensive drive in order to score a touchdown and win it. They could have gone for a field goal, but they weren't content with sending this Super Bowl into overtime. They wanted this to win it with a touchdown. And obviously, Jerry Rice had a big part in that final drive because he helped Joe Montana pass the ball farther down. But it wasn't Jerry Rice who got the game-winning touchdown. It was John Taylor. And the way that the radio announcer for the 49ers described that touchdown The way it sounded when you hear it, it sounds like we won this for sure. I think it was back to Montana, throws to Taylor, touchdown 49ers! Well, I obviously can't duplicate the exact feeling or the exact sound of how the radio announcer said it, because you have to hear it to understand what I'm saying. But this was the biggest victory for the 49ers because it helped them become the second dynasty in the history of the NFL. The first, of course, being the Pittsburgh Steelers of the 70s. There were two other dynasties that followed the San Francisco 49ers. The Dallas Cowboys of the 90s and the New England Patriots of the 2000s. Who knows exactly what the dynasty is going to be for the 2010s. Maybe it's going to be the New Orleans Saints. Maybe it's going to be some other team. Who knows? It's up in the air. Any team could be the very next dynasty. But the San Francisco 49ers, that Super Bowl victory helped them become the second dynasty in the NFL. As for the Cincinnati Bengals, they have been struggling big time after this Super Bowl loss. They have not been the same team. They have had disappointing season after disappointing season after disappointing season. The 90s were evident of that. They were known as the Bungles in the 90s. Last year it looked like the Bengals might have had a chance to make it to the Super Bowls, but got crushed by the Jets in the first round. And this season, it was an absolute disaster for the Bengals. They were the worst team in the AFC. If you're the worst team in the AFC, then that's just sad. They had a lot expected from them. They had a lot of weapons on their side, and they still couldn't get the job done offensively. Their defense, it was pretty much bad as well, but still, the Bengals, hopefully they'll improve, and hopefully they'll become who they were in the 80s. But I don't see them making it to another Super Bowl anytime soon. No offense to the Bengals fans, but I just don't see it. But then again, the San Francisco 49ers, they haven't been the same team either ever since Steve Young left. Steve Young and Joe Montana, they were the quarterbacks that defined the San Francisco 49ers. Ever since those two left, the Niners just haven't been the same team. The last time they made it to the playoffs was in 2002 when Jeff Garcia was the starting quarterback for the Niners. It's like, obviously now the San Francisco 49ers have a quarterback issue. I'd expect for the draft for them to get a quarterback in the first round, but there are other parts that they're struggling with, but primarily it's their offense that the Niners have been struggling with. Hopefully the Niners will get back in the groove with their offense, but who's to say? There's just a lot that needs to be improved of these two teams if they want to be who they were in the 80s. So that wraps up the top 10 Super Bowls of all time. Super Bowl 45 obviously is going to be next month, and who knows exactly who's going to play in that Super Bowl. My guess is that it's going to be the New York Jets versus the Atlanta Falcons, which would make for a very, very interesting Super Bowl. What's your prediction on what Super Bowl 45 will be? Be sure to post a comment on what you think the next Super Bowl will be, and hopefully it will happen, but there are many other Super Bowls to happen in the near future. Obviously, Super Bowl 45 will not be the last, but there are other teams that really would love to win a Super Bowl. Not every team will win a Super Bowl. There have still been several teams that haven't won a Super Bowl yet that deserve to win a Super Bowl. I mean, the Philadelphia Eagles, a lot of people say it's time for them to win a Super Bowl. The Minnesota Vikings, they've been to the Super Bowl 4 times, haven't won it. Several teams haven't been to the Super Bowl yet. Those many teams that have made it haven't won it. Still, the Super Bowl will happen every year. The Super Bowl is the greatest football event to happen in the history of football. It's something I look forward to every single year, so be sure to catch Super Bowl 45. That will happen next month.